What's up guys, Stock Catcher here. If you're not part of the team, I recommend you hit the subscribe button, join the team. I share trade ideas every day live on Stock Tweets on Twitter, just trying to help people, as well as make daily YouTube videos. And you guys been really seeing me to like the videos. I'm gonna keep posting more trade ideas as well as explaining my analysis. So in this video, there's a lot of plays today that ended up doing pretty good. Today was more choppy compared to yesterday. Yesterday was just crazy. If you saw the previous video, you saw how many runners there were and how the breakouts were just parabolic. Today was more choppy, and I mentioned in my previous videos that that's the case pretty much. When you trade, it's going to be like that every day, where some days it's going to be crazy, some days it's going to be slow, some days it's going to be choppy. So you pretty much have to get used to it, because I've been doing stocks for many years and that's how it is. So today, first stock that so many people really like and they want me to mention, GIBL. This one I mentioned it many videos. I think I started mentioning it around 4 cents, and this is a micro penny, right? And the thing with micro pennies, I said every video, is that it's more choppy. The movement is kind of more slow at times, but the percentages that it goes up is actually pretty significant. Because right now I'm looking at GIBL right now. It's up 31%, which is a really big gain. If you use a couple $1,000, right? 30% is a lot. And everything I say in my videos is not financial advice. It's just my opinion. It's just trying to help, right? Entertainment. So GIBL, this one I saw some people say there was catalyst coming for it. So there's also a fundamental edge to it, not just technical. I'm more of a technical volume trader rather than a fundamental catalyst based trader. Both is good, and I did both. I do both, but I'm more technical nowadays. But looking at the technicals, this stock made a really big sell-off just yesterday. If you look at the chart, GIBL went from the highs, which was 13 cents, 0.132, and it fell all the way down to 6 cents. And then it held that 5-cent psychological pivot, which I mentioned yesterday, right? How the 5-cent intervals are really important when it comes to micro pennies. And then right now it just bounced really hard, and it went all the way to 9 cent plus. So that's a really good opportunity. And the people that are holding GIBL, like, what's your price target? What's your thoughts on it? Because I like reading your opinions as well, right? Because I like gathering, opinions and forming, learning from it as well, right? So GIBL, this one, keep it on the watch list for sure. I'm gonna be looking at this stock every day, probably similar to the other pennies, right? Like STAI, which I made several videos on. So that was the first one. Next one, LIDR. This one, multi-day setup. I mentioned this at the beginning. It was around 140. I said that it was perking, right, in NVIDIA news, and then it just ended up popping off to 644. So that was a really strong move. And looking at right now, it's trying to hold that key $4 level, $4 level. And this could definitely run multi-day. But looking at right now, it's more heavy. So you really want to see a clean break over that previous resistance on the extended time frame. Ideally the hourly chart, which is what I like to use when it comes to multi-day setup. When I say a stock is multi on StockTwits or Twitter, when I talk about multi-day setup, I'm more referring to the extended time frame. I'm looking more for the hourly chart as well as the daily chart. So it's pretty much like more on a swing trading type of lens, like a analysis rather than a like a 1 minute, 2 minute, those like day trading, quick in and out type of play. So a multi-day setup could be really nice for people that have less stress. They like trade setups that have less stress, right? Because the ones that move really quickly, the ones on the micro time frame, like the 1 minute, those moves can be kind of stressful, as well as it could burn some people if they're not really experienced or if they are more slower, right, when you're trading entry-wise. So LIDR, look, yeah, definitely keep this on the watch list. I'm watching it every day. Next one, there's a lot of stocks today that had really interesting movement. So next one is CLDI. This one I mentioned it right at the news, right? I think the stock at news in the morning time, and then the stock just ends up ripping from, as soon as over 60 cents, it went all the way up to almost $1, and then actually did break $1, but it kind of sold off. It went to 106. This stock, percentage wise, I think in pre-market it was up 76% at the peak, or maybe it was a little more, like 85% or something like that. But that $1 unfortunately rejected, and then it just ended up selling off, which just happens in trading, right? Sometimes it doesn't hold like those key levels, which doesn't cause continuation. But CLDI, nonetheless, it was a really solid swing trade setup. I mean, not swing trade, I mean a day trade setup. And I mean, swing trade setup, yeah, it could still run. But this was a really solid trade because I said in the previous videos that when a stock makes a big move up off of news or just in general, like a pop, right? It oftentimes, more than half of the time, it's going to present itself more opportunities for you to capitalize on. For example, when it made that big move up, it made a micro pullback, it made like a dip, and then it held that 75-cent psychological area. And then it made a really clean move. I think that was like 30% or 20%. And then if you look at the chart, it just made multiple opportunities. After it held that flag type of setup, it made another breakout, and then you could trade off of dips at the EMA. And this stock, I did trade it, and it was nice. You know, it's a nice trade, CLDI. And this float on this one was kind of higher. It was at 35 million float, or somewhere around there. And I said in my videos many times that low float is key when it comes to these big movers. But I also said that just because stock has higher float, like 40 million, 50 million, that doesn't mean that it's not going to go up a lot. Because it's always about volume. I say every video that volume is the #1 factor when it comes to trading. Volume is the deciding factor, right? So if there's a high amount of volume, it doesn't really matter if the float's a little more higher, right? So which is why you see these stocks sometimes have 100 million float and they end up making like 100% moves. So CLDI was nice. Next one, STAI. This one, I mentioned it around the morning time, right? I said that was setting up. And then if you look after the open, as soon as the $1 held, it made a really massive move up. It was just straight vertical line. It went all the way to 154, which is a really big move. That's like 54%, right? So this stock, looking at it, this is the exact same thing I was talking about a minute ago. Look at the float. The float is kind of higher, which is like 43 million, 42 million float. But the volume was insane. Look at the volume. 226 million volume. That's 250 million volume, and the average volume is 1 million. So you have to think in terms of float rotation, and you have to think in terms of the relative. Like, it's not just about the volume number, it's more so about the compared to the average, right? If you know, like, the difference. So STAI, this one I believe was the AI name. I'm not 100% sure. STAI. And looking at the chart, this one could continue running, as it's up 72% right now. But you really want to see the stock over $1. If you're a bull, you really don't want to see that $1 crack, right? Because most of the time, that's when it starts to get into more bearish territory, and that's where the shorts, they like to, pound, right? The under $1. So that was STAI. Next one, SGD. This one made a really nice move after open. Looking at it right now, it went all the way to 163. Same situation as earlier, where a stock holds over $1 and then it ends up just ripping face vertical. And this one is a lower flow stock. So this stock had 1 million float, which is micro float. Anything under 10 million float is micro float, in my opinion, like 5 million, 6 million, 2 million. So this stock just pulled away. And looking at it right now, there's a lot of tops. It's kind of like, more like bearish territory. You see so many tops on the stock. Ideally you want to see a new high, like when I say flat top, like you want to see that breakout over the previous flat top. So ideally 170 plus would be really good for the stock. I mean, looking at it right now, it's looking pretty good. The volume is high, so maybe keep SGD on your watch list. But yeah, this probably will fade, maybe, because this usually fades, but we'll see price action. So next one, SOAR, SOAR. This one, I mentioned it again, similar to CLDI. I said in the morning time, right when I saw it, it was starting to move. It was around like $2, and then this stock ended up ripping to 275, just straight up, like a very clean price action. There was no sort of choppiness when it was starting to move up, which is what I really like to see when I trade stocks. I don't want to see choppy, like huge type of, knives, right? So SOAR, this one, when I mentioned it at 2, I think it was like $2. It went straight up. Because this stock, if you look at it, it's also a technical setup as well. It's not just based on volume. This stock kind of made like a wedge type of pattern. As soon as you saw that broke over the candlestick close, it went really big. So shout out to if you banked on SOAR, SOAR. I think I had some people comment that they made like a good amount on this, like 30%, like on this trade idea. So that was really nice. So next one, ATOS, this one higher float. Same situation I mentioned earlier on CLDI. this stock ended up, this is a biotech, and it ended up making a pretty nice move. It went from 90 cents around where I mentioned it to 115. So percentage wise, that's a big percent gain. I don't know the exact amount as of now, but I think it's like 20% or 15%. So I said in yesterday's video that when it comes to small cap, you really want to look at percentages rather than the amount. Because a lot of people, when they see a stock move 10 cents or 20 cents, they say, oh, that's not really a lot, or it's like a waste of time. It's not really a big move. But if you look at percentages, it's actually like it comes out to like 15%, 20%, 30% every day. And this happens multiple times a day. So think about 30% on, a few $1,000. That's a lot of money. Or even a few $100. That's a lot, right? So ATOS was really good. Next one, NTHI. This one I mentioned in the morning time, and it just ended up making a huge move up. It ran like almost $3 after I mentioned it. It's a micro floater. The thing with micro floaters is that in the morning time, they make really big moves up really quickly. So if you're more of a slower trader, you can't really execute the entries really well. In my opinion, I would stick more to multi-day setup, right, rather than these type of fast movers. But there is definitely opportunity. Like I said earlier, that just because you miss a pop doesn't mean it's done. If you look at the chart NTHI, after it made that big move up, it dipped, it held that level, and then it made 2 more moves up. So there's opportunity on the stock, right? So even if you missed the first move. So that was NTHI. Next one, same situation as NTHI is NIVF. This one I just mentioned earlier, the setup, right? Where this also has low float. And then it made a really nice move, but then it provided like 2 opportunities where it could have traded that bounce macro pullback type of situation. So NIVF, this one I believe had news, and this one was a really good winner. I think this ran like 60%. So shout out to if you banked on NIVF. So there was a lot of like larger cap stocks that were running today, such as SoFi. This one made a really big move up. I've been mentioning this stock many days on my watch list that I post every night for on StockTwits Twitter. It broke out of that previous resistance and it just ripped face. So SoFi was really good. And speaking about SoFi, if you're bullish on the stock, what's your price target? I'm just curious because I know the stock is really popular among the YouTubers, right? I know a lot of people talking about SoFi, so I was just curious. So there's only like a few stocks left. Like I said, today was more choppy compared to yesterday. Yesterday was very, very crazy, but today was more choppy. So there wasn't anything like crazy. We're around like 200%. But there's still a lot of opportunity, like constant 50% bangers, 30%, 20%. So next one, SISCC. This one, micro penny. I said today, right, micro penny, and then as soon as after open, it just rephased from 18 cents to 26.99. That's a massive percent gain. So if you banked on this trade today, let me know, guys. This was really nice. I think this is a Chinese penny. Right, and these Chinese pennies, oftentimes they make moves up off of just no news, just like just off of volume. So you really want to pay attention to these Chinese or Singapore or these type of stocks, right? Yeah, today that's pretty much the stocks. NWTN, this was another one that I said was thin. So if a stock is thin, it ends up just making a really big move up off a little volume, and that's exactly what happened. This stock went all the way to 174 from that 125 pivot, so that was really strong. And yeah, that was all the stocks today. And I had someone ask me to talk about a stock in the video. I usually do that on the weekend. If you guys watch my videos on my channel, you know how I talk about the stocks that you guys are bullish on Saturday usually, because that's when I have free time. But today this person said, can you make a video on OLB? The person said insider own 39% of the stock, lower float, target price $30. So I know the stock OLB. I actually traded this in the past several times. This is more of a crypto stock, and this stock likes to make big moves up. Looking at it right now, I mean, there's no volume, and the hourly chart is setting up. It's kind of a micro flow type of stock for 2 million float. So you really want to pay attention to news catalysts, because who knows, in pre-market these type of stocks rip like 100% very quickly. Similar to today's like SOAR, right? That stock had 1 million float or low float, and then it's a rip and face like along a big percentage wise, right? So OLB, I mean, looking at right now, the hourly chart is setting up and there's no volume, so I can't really analyze on that aspect, but it's in a really nice sector. I said in my previous videos is that Bitcoin stocks, these crypto type of stocks, you really want to pay attention this year. I said in the past, right, about BT, CAN, and all these stocks. Looking at them right now, They don't have a lot of volume, but it comes and goes. It's similar to the oil stocks I mentioned, Husa, Indo, MXC9, where the thing is these stocks don't always keep moving up. There's a trend. There's times when there's trends, and there's time when there's sector momentum, right? When all these stocks in a basket, they move together. So you really want to pay attention to the sentiment, as well as looking at for those abnormal volume surges in these type of stocks, right? Because if one does it, then most likely the other ones are going to follow. So Ola B, I mean, looking at right now, it looks pretty good, and you really want to look for volume, right? So appreciate you guys. I'm gonna make more videos trying to help people. Sorry guys. I'm gonna be making more videos trying to help people. The appreciate you guys, and I'll see you guys in the morning time pre-market. These Stock stocks, they look kind of ready to pop, right? They have been kind of consolidating for a while now, as well as we need to keep an eye on these hurricane type of stock, energy stocks such as PPSI, Pola, OPTT. Usually during this time, these hurricane type of stocks, they end up making really nice moves because it's hurricane season, right? And another stock that ended up ripping face was NEGG. This one is a popular stock. It's more expensive stock, but the multi-day setup was there. It looked really good, and right now it's over $60 a share. So this stock, if you go to the daily chart, is starting to enter that parabolic type of territory. So you really want to keep an eye on NEGG. This one is New Egg Commerce. I don't know if you guys are into tech or computers, but this stock actually builds like computer parts, right? I remember way back when I was into these computer building and those kind of nerdy stuff, I actually liked the New Egg website because the prices were good compared to other places where if you customize your PC, right? So New Egg is cool seeing this stock move up a lot. This is also, I believe, a short squeeze meme type of name. I remember way back in the day. So NEGG, this one was really good. Another one that ended up making a really nice move was RVSN, no, Archon. Archon, this one I mentioned that it was breaking out very strong, and then the stock just ended up halting up, and it made a really big move. I had some people say they banked on it, so congratulations guys if you banked on Archon. And that's going on for the Oiler stocks as well. You want to keep an eye on Husa, Indo, and MXC9, right?